Okay, before you guys start destroying me in the comments, this is my opinion. Now that's out of the way, I'm going to explain how you can actually balance this game, Blizzard, without changing the core fundamentals of the game. First off, how to solve the double barrier meta. I know this sounds a bit strange, but what if we had a separate queue for tanks? Hear me out. If we had a main tank role and then an off tank role, it would literally solve all the issues. But here's the catch. Sigma, Orisa, Ryan and Winston would be classed as main tanks. This would change the meta instantly, but how would Sigma be turned into a main tank? It's pretty simple. Sigma is totally fine by himself because his barrier is pretty weak compared to the other barrier tanks. This is taking into account the nerfs that are on the PTR currently. So by himself he's balanced, but pair him with Orisa, it gets pretty obnoxious. So now you know who would be in the main tank role. Let's talk about off tanks. Zarya, D.Va, Roadhog, and Wrecking Ball. Okay, before we go on, Wrecking Ball is not a main tank. End of story. I'm classing him as an off tank. That's it. Now that's out of the way, we can talk. I know this will increase the queue times for tank players, but does that really matter when DPS players are getting 30-minute queue times plus? Now I know this is a bit of a drastic change to Overwatch, but it needs to happen. This game feels so stale due to the lack of content being added to the game. It literally takes 3 to 4 months just to get an event that is lacking on any sort of enjoyment. Now, I hope all that information just sinked in. Now let's start talking about how Blizzard could fix every single hero. And I'm gonna explain every single buff or nerf they need in this video. First, the tanks. Roadhog needs not to be changed because he's in a perfect spot right now. He's just been overshadowed by Sigma, and now that Sigma's going to be a main tank with the information I put above, this will not occur. So he will probably be viable with Orisa, it will be fine. Now D.Va is an easy one. I would revert her defense matrix cooldown to 1 second. Now I know how good D.Va was back in the day, but she's just been outclassed by all the off tanks. She's basically useless compared to them. Right now, Reinhardt is pretty balanced. I would just give him a 200 HP buff on his shield so its uptime is longer, but it wouldn't break Reinhardt's pick rate overall. Now Sigma is insanely good next to Orisa, but by himself he's pretty vulnerable, so I would not nerf him anymore. This taking into account all the PTR nerfs. Now, Orisa's power levels have increased over time due to the meta revolving around her. The first logical thing I can think of is basically to increase the cooldown of her ult, because I think that is her strongest ability by far. So maybe a 13-second cooldown would be fair. Nah, I'm kidding. Just like a 11-second cooldown would be fine. But definitely nerf Orisa's ult. It's really good. Now Wrecking Ball is such a weird character because nobody really works with him. But if you play Hammond, you literally solo carry. So I think Hammond should stay the way he is because he is a good. If you're good at him, you can use his kit well. He's a good character, so he's perfectly balanced. No need to buff him or nerf him. He's fine. Now Winston is a character that has been weak ever since Orisa came out, or ever since Orisa came out. So the only way I can see buffing him is by giving him 600 HP instead of 500. This will give him more survivability and dives, and that extra 100 HP is going to be all armor. Now Zarya is in a pretty good spot, but she's struggling due to Sigma and Orisa being so good right now. So if Sigma's a tank, a main tank, and Orisa's a main tank, you can't pick both of them anymore. So it's just going to be totally fine. Zarya will be picked with Ryan, it's going to be perfect. Now that we've covered the tanks, let's move to DPS. So let's just make this quick. Just make Ashe's rounds do 200 to 250 damage to barriers when she's scoped in. When she's scoped out, she does like 150 to barriers. This would make her much more viable against double barrier, or just barriers in general, and make her pick rate go a bit up, but not too much. So Genji basically just needs his ultimate to charge 10% faster, so that he can just actually be viable, because he's absolutely dreadful right now. He's just CC galore right now. Freaking Brig, Moira destroys Genji. Just that 10% charge, faster charge rate will just make his impact in the fights way more while keeping him balanced at the same time. Now Hanzo is pretty strong due to his one-shot potential and his Storm Arrow ability. So the thing I would change is how much damage the Storm Arrow does per shot. I would make it so it does the same damage to barriers but does less to players. This would make Hanzo weaker to someone diving him. Now Doomfist is very good all round because of his high damage and high maneuverability, but Doomfist lacks range. But because he has high maneuverability, he avoids being out of distance. So the thing I would change is give Doomfist one less shot in his Peacekeeper. This would make Doomfist much harder to play because you have to eat all 3 shots to eat, like all headshots, just to kill one person. And that would take way more skill and it would require way more mechanics from the Doomfist player himself. Now Tracer has been in a weird place for a while. She's good, but she struggles to get value with all these CC abilities in the game at this point in time. So I'd give her the ability to recoil by stun, but while this is a buff, I would still give the recoil a longer cooldown, like 15 seconds, just to counteract this buff. Now I think McCree has always been a strong pick in this meta, but he was always lacked the ability to get rid of barriers effectively because he's a hit scan and that should be happening. So I would just give him 25% more damage to barriers. This would just make him kind of more effective against barriers, but not that much more. It would just be a better all-around hero and he would actually be picked over like a Hanzo or something. Okay, Widow just doesn't need a nerf or a buff because she's hard to play, hard to master. But once you've mastered her, she's one of the strongest heroes in the game because of her one-shot potential on the head. This is why she's balanced and there's no talking about it, she's just perfectly balanced. Just straight up remove Smetch from the game. Nah, I'm just kidding. Once double barrier's gone, she will go back to where she normally was because she's really picked right now because she gets ammo from shooting barriers and she's got such high damage when she's at that max beam. So when she's not at max beam, she's pretty weak, so I would keep her where she's at right now. Now Torb is kind of in a good spot right now. Torb's just not seeing much play because of double barrier. And that's what's happening with a lot of the DPS right now. He's just perfectly balanced all around. He's got good close range potential, good long range. His turret's balanced. You can get rid of it if you're good and you just actually can aim properly. Other than that, he's perfectly fine. I wouldn't change him at all. Now Pharah is really good on console because the majority of console players can't really aim the best with the controller. But on PC it's different because Pharah has less time to be out in the open shooting down on people because most PC players have decent enough aim to shoot a Pharah in the sky. So basically she doesn't need to get changed at all because of her high skill cap. Now Soldier's just kind of been that guy that you kind of pick up when you first get the game, and he just, as you move along you start picking up other DPS and he just gets overshadowed by all of them. So the thing I would just give him is 30% more damage to shields. So he just like, I don't know, he just needs some love right now. He's absolutely he's in an alright spot, but he's just McCree, Ash, Widowmaker, literally any other freaking hit scan is better than him. Now Bastion is really damn annoying if the other team knows how to protect him correctly, but if you aren't getting protected you're really vulnerable to his lack of mobility. So to balance him out, I would give him 50 less ammo in his turret form, but 5 more ammo in his regular out of form. So he has 40 shots in his regular form, but 250 in just his turret form. This would make people have more incentive to not just sit there and press left kick the whole game. Now let's make this quick. Mei should not be able to give you a movement penalty when you're getting frozen. This would actually give you a chance to defend yourself if this was not the case. That's literally all she needs, so she's she's way less frustrating to verse. Before you think this means she doesn't freeze you, you're wrong. You would still get frozen, but without the freeze effect. This would actually give you a chance to defend yourself. Okay, Sombra is perfectly fine where she is right now due to how much time it takes to farm EMP now because of the ultimate nerfs. And with the new changes coming on the PTR, this will make her much funner to play because you'll be out on the battlefield more, doing more to contribute to the team fights. Now Reaper's lifesteal needs to be nerfed by like 5 or 8% because he just outclasses every close range DPS in the game apart from Doomfist. Apart from that, I wouldn't change him at all because he's just like, he's always been that tank buster, but if you kind of nerf his self-sustain a bit, he'll be kind of level with all the other DPS in the game. Despite Junkrat's low pick rate, his kit's perfectly balanced right now. He's just been outclassed by Symmetra and characters like that because they're high damage to barriers. Even though he has high damage to barriers, he's just not as effective as that. So yeah, now we've went through all the DPS, now we can talk about the supports. Now the support meta right now is pretty boring due to Moira being a brainless support with high value. Other supports cannot even come close to what Moira can provide for a team. Ana is perfectly balanced, but due to her being outclassed by Moira, she's obsolete in the meta right now. And she can get dove pretty easily, but she does have a sleep dart to protect herself. But sometimes that's not enough because she gets dove by more people. Doomfist is pretty popular as well right now, so she's just getting absolutely fisted the majority of the game. Yeah, so I wouldn't change her at all because she's one of the fastest supports to play in the game anyway. Now Moira needs to be nerfed. Here's how I do it. Completely remove her damage orb but keep her healing orb. Increase the healing meter on the left side of her screen so that she becomes more of a healer and make her self heal only 15 per second. So right now it's 20 with the new PDR nerfs. I would actually reduce that to 15 so people don't have the incentive that they can duel any DPS in the game with no struggles at all. With these changes I think Moira will become more of a healer than a DPS. Baptiste is a really balanced support due to his high skill cap that he requires, so I don't think he needs any changes because he's hard to master because of his hit skin and how his grenades work for healing. He's just all round balanced, plus his high cooldowns on his abilities mean he's pretty good, so I would not change him at all. Now Mercy's pick rate is weak due to her little healing she provides for her team. I think the healing needs to be increased by like 5% so she can at least compete with the other supports like Moira, Ana, Baptiste, the list goes on. Okay, she is really weak right now. She's only really good to pocket like DPS, like Fire and stuff. So that's what I would do to her. Now Lucio is one of those characters that are really fun to play but really hard to master. His kit requires the player to know all the things about the map that might not be required from the other heroes of the roster. This makes him very fun and balanced to play, and I would not change him at all, not nerf him, not buff him. He's perfectly fine. With the PTR changes coming to the game soon, he's just going to be even funner because he's got his speed back. It's going to be insanely fun to play. Now Zenyatta is perfectly balanced due to him having a very high damage output but low healing output. The drop off of his kit is that he's very immobile with little HP. His ultimate is one of the best support ults in the game when used correctly. With all the reasons I listed above, he doesn't need any changes at all. It's perfectly fine, no nerfs, no buffs. He's a very good hero if you know how to play him. Regrita needs serious help in the current state she's in. Her healing and damage is awful compared to the other supports, and here's how I would fix her. First, I would give her 50 more HP on her barrier. Second, I would give her 1 more charge. These changes would make her much more viable compared to the other supports in the game. Well, I guess that's it. We've went through every single hero right now. With all these changes I just went through, just note these are all my opinions. And if you have any ideas on buffs or nerfs you'd like for your favourite heroes, please comment down below. And until next time, peace.